You've just heard Jim explain the different areas that you should plan to read and evaluate about the franchise disclosure document. One of the elements in that document is called the actual licensing agreements, whether it's a single unit or multi-unit or regional. If the franchise company offers those different options, they'll have a copy of the franchise agreement that you'll actually enter into as an attachment in there for your review. And I find that very helpful because that way you get a chance to read through that contract, find out what the terms are, what the obligations are. And the agreements actually have different, from franchise to franchise, different lengths of the term. It could be a 5-year agreement, a 7-year agreement, a 10-year. Those are pretty typical. They may have the opportunity to renew them again under certain conditions for another 5 years or 10-year term. So you want to look into that to make sure that you're comfortable with the term of the agreement and the renewal terms and whether there's fees associated with the renewals. Also, whether or not you can transfer the ownership of that license agreement to another third party who may buy your franchise if you ever want to exit out of that franchise. Before you've fulfilled the obligations under the agreement, you can sell the rights to another party. There's probably some conditions in there, but you want to make sure that you can, first of all, and you also want to make sure that you understand what the fees might be. So those are things that are helpful to know. We recommend, again, that you get a franchise attorney who understands franchising to review your contracts before you sign them, to make sure that all the questions that you have are answered to your satisfaction. You're probably going to also, it's not uncommon for us when we're consulting with some of our small business owners or future small business owners, can I negotiate the contract? Can I change this? Can I change that? And the answer in most cases is no. You can't change the franchise agreements. They're not generally up for negotiation. There are some pieces of the agreement, for instance, the description of the territory that might be something that you could negotiate and the parameters of any protected territories or what have you. Those things are usually negotiable. What your build-out schedule might be if you're going to be a multi-unit or area developer, what that might be. So those are things that an attorney can help you with. But you, again, if the expectation is I'm going to go in and change the agreement, in most cases that's not going to work very well. Some smaller startup franchises might be a little more flexible. Established franchisers, they're not going to usually bend at all. So just know that going into it. There's another thing, when you get the document, when it shows up from the franchisor, there's going to be a part in there where it's got a receipt, they call it, and you will sign that receipt, date that receipt, send it back to the franchise company. They put it in your file to document that you've actually received the document. And it also, the Federal Trade Commission has built in what they call a 14-day rule. Now the 14-day rule is there to be a minimum time frame from the time that you as an investor, potential investor, would have to review that document to make sure that you've had a thorough opportunity to do so before you would ever be allowed to sign the agreement and or make any sort of an investment. So there's a minimum 14-day period that's built in there to keep people from making solely an emotional decision without having taken the time to really understand the nature of the investment and the ramifications of their decision, because it is a two-way relationship. It is a contract. You're going to need to live with the decision that you make for some time, so you want to make sure that you're fully evaluating that before you make a commitment and actually make the investment. So we're encouraging you to make the most of those documents and make sure that you get the legal review, get an accountant possibly to help you review some of the financial information so that you're clear about that, you're comfortable about it. And then we're also going to talk about in our next section coming up here, we're going to talk about the importance of validating the system through interviewing existing and past franchisees to get some information that may or may not be available to you in the disclosures.